All right, we're on. Hello, my friends. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I thought I'd jump on here just for a few moments to answer your weaning questions and also your questions regarding the Weaning Essentials mini course that I just launched earlier this week. Yay! So, yeah, I'm on here. I created a community post on YouTube several days ago asking you guys to write in. Let me know what questions you have, so we will be addressing those as well. First, I'd like to start by just thanking you guys so much for all of the love and support that I've received over the past, several months and years since I've been on here. It really means the world to me, and I'm so appreciative of the community that we are building together. And yeah, you guys inspire me, so big thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So, for those of you guys who are new to my channel or you don't know, one of the most frequently asked questions I receive via email, direct message, whatever it is that parents are looking for tips on how and when to wean their infant from milk to solid foods. And parents want to know tips, tricks, techniques, like what's the best practice. And it's definitely a big deal, right? Like weaning your child can be a scary endeavor. Like it's a big developmental milestone that we're approaching. And even me having Kai, being an occupational therapist, and one of the things I do day in and day out is help kids who have special needs with their feeding difficulties. And these children are at much higher risk of aspirating and choking and all the rest than the typically developing kids that most of us have. So even though that is my day job, having Kai, who is typically developing, it was still super scary for me to jump into weaning. And I'm just one of those moms, I guess, who's prone to overthinking and worrying. And so I tip my hat off to all those mamas out there who are chill and they're just like, they'll figure it out. It's cool. We've got this. It's all right. Like I aspire to be more like you. And maybe that's a second child phenomenon because the first one, it's just like you're pulling your hair out and you want everything to go as smoothly as possible. And that's definitely the case when you're weaning your child. Because again, the fears of choking and the sounds of gagging, it all is very scary. And a lot of times those incidents, they end up traumatizing us parents more than they do the child. So I definitely understand wanting to have all your ducks in a row, know all the information. That way you feel confident going into weaning your child, because our energy is like projecting out towards them. So if we're a mess and we're tense and we're stressed out, like our babies are going to pick up on that. And we want this to be a fun experience for them, as it should be, because it's a major part of their development and it's sensory exploration. And yeah, playing with food is fun. Exploring food is fun. So we've got to go into it as calm and as confident as we possibly can. And that's why I created the Weaning Essentials mini course. I wanted new moms and expecting mothers to have a resource that gives them all the information they need to cover the basics and feel like they have a solid grasp on what to expect, what their options are. And again, that they feel confident to start this journey with their little one. So all the information, all the details about this mini course is listed below in the link I'm going to post as soon as this live stream ends. So there will be a link in the description box for you to click on, check out, and again, get all the details that you're looking for. With that being said, let's jump into the questions that I have received. I'm going to start with the Weaning Essentials mini course questions, and then I'll move into the YouTube community post questions. So the first question I have is, I'm a new mom and I'm wanting to know more about whether or not I should be offering purees. Is it best to skip them altogether? That's a really good question. And actually, I cover this pretty in depth in the Weaning Essentials mini course. So I will say in a nutshell, you can absolutely skip purees. It's weird that we even have them to begin with, and there's a history to that, and I touch on that in this mini course. But developmentally, and in terms of progressing your child's ability to chew and manage food safely in their mouth, purees isn't doing much for them. So feel free, mama, like to skip the purees altogether and move on to the finger foods and all of those great things that are truly going to progress your child's oral motor skills. So the second question I have is, how long is the Weaning Essentials course? So what's great is I put together this content. It's super concise, but packed with solid information. So you're going to be able to get through this mini course in about 30 to 40 minutes tops. There is a quiz, a readiness quiz that I created. So you can just answer, I think it's 13 questions to give you a really clear picture of whether or not your child is showing all the readiness signs and the developmental signs to green light and move forward in offering your child those finger foods. And then I also put together a great resource for moms for talking points with your pediatrician and conversations that commonly come up with pediatricians when pursuing a baby-led weaning approach. So the actual content there's 4 modules, and you'll be able to get through that in about 30, 35 minutes. So quick and easy. Again, the information you need, move on with your day, and feel confident in starting that really great milestone with your little one. So this is the first question that I received on the community post. And it says, please address peanut allergies. I'm glad someone brought this up. And at first I was like, oh yeah, that's good. The reason why I'm glad that it was brought up is because the recommendation has recently shifted. So this is from the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. And I'll also post the link to this particular article in the description box below for you all to reference. But these guidelines now shifted, and they recommend that infants who are at high risk of peanut allergy be introduced to peanuts at 4 to 6 months of age. And the reason is that researchers found that children who are at high risk of developing peanut allergy were far less likely to develop an allergy when they were introduced to peanuts before they turned 12 months old. So that's super interesting and probably counterintuitive to what we would think, but that is the new recommendation. I will note it also says, it says the recommendation gives detailed instructions for peanut introduction to infants at 3 risk levels. And no matter what the risk level is that your infant falls under, adults should consult a healthcare provider, such as a primary care physician, before introducing peanuts into a child's diet. So don't just give them to them willy-nilly. Make sure you check in with your doctor, your pediatrician first, so you have guidance on how that should be introduced to your infant. All right, so let's see. The next question I have is, I need help weaning my 18-month-old son from breastfeeding for comfort. This one, I don't have a whole ton of experience with, to be completely honest with you, and that's tough. I don't know. So my suggestion with this would be try to, I don't know if distract is the best word, but every time your child is looking to wean for comfort, you can replace that interaction with something different. So whether it is singing them a lullaby, providing hugs or cuddles, or engaging in some sort of activity that they prefer, if you can substitute that breastfeeding. And it's different if you're doing that at night. So I don't know if this is happening throughout the day and at night. It might be easier to distract them in the middle of the night when they're wanting to breastfeed for comfort and put them back to sleep. During the day, you might have to have a preferred activity, or really it's trial and error. Sometimes it's just hard and you have to be like, I'm sorry, no. And there's a period of time where there's crying and them being upset with you. but that's not quite my area of expertise, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, I'm not that much help. But distraction, that would be my best, my best piece of advice for you. Okay, and then the next question I have is, I'm from India and wanted to ask 2 questions. One, can we give banana to my 6-month-old baby because we were said not to give it as it causes cold and cough to babies? So I have not heard this information. This is new to me and I haven't heard that. I don't know if this is specific to your infant, if there are any allergy concerns or health concerns related to giving your child banana, but typically speaking, banana is a fine food to introduce to an infant. Your second question is, whenever I try to breastfeed him, he makes sounds while sucking the milk and spits out all the milk. He also bites me, so how to stop this, please? Okay. I think this is a wonderful question. And I mentioned this in the mini course in terms of a readiness sign or flags to look out for now. If your child is making sounds, whether it's clicking, gurgling, noises while feeding, that may suggest that they're having difficulty managing the milk. It could be that they're getting too much milk in their mouth and they're not able to coordinate the sucking, the swallowing, and the breathing efficiently. And that might be why you're seeing the milk come back out, is because they're having a hard time swallowing it safely. And if they have too much in their mouth, they're going to want to push it out of their mouth so that way they can breathe. I would definitely check in with your pediatrician about that. Or if you have an occupational therapist, that's something that you should mention, because that would be something an OT would want to look at, how your infant's feeding, or even a lactation consultant, certainly in their wheelhouse to do. But that would be a red flag indicator for me. And that would also give me pause in terms of transitioning to solid foods right this moment. That I would want to address how they're managing the liquids during breastfeeds or bottle feeds before moving on to the solid foods. So check in with the pediatrician or check in with an OT that you may have access to. As far as the biting, that's tough. I think a lot of us moms can relate to that. When they get the teeth, it's kind of tough, and sometimes it happens, but it's the communication, like the stern, no, we don't do that, and stopping the feed if you need to, and making that clear. It's tough. I know, it's not fun. Sorry about that. Okay, and then the next question I have on here is, do you believe it is best to slowly transition from breast milk as the primary source of a baby's nutrients to a more full palette of table foods? Or does baby process better, faster if it were a quick day-night transition? Also a great question. Okay, yes, it needs to happen slowly. This should be a process that takes at least 6 months. This is something else that I touch on in this weaning course, the Weaning Essentials mini course. It needs to be a slow transition because breast milk and or formula is your baby's primary source of nutrition until the age of 1. So food is for fun until age 1. That's why starting weaning on the solid foods around 6 months of age is really supposed to be a stressless process for mom and for baby, because we're not pressuring them to eat a certain amount of food or to take in this, how much are they eating? We're not worried about that, because they're getting all the nutrients that they need primarily from the breast milk and the formula. So it should absolutely be a slow process, and it may go well into 18 months, 2 years if you're breastfeeding, still at that time. I moved Kai off of breast milk at the age of 14 months. So that was when we cut off breastfeeding and he was all on table foods. But your child should absolutely at least be on formula and or breast milk until age 1. So slow transition. You're introducing around 6 months of age, and you're not taking them off that formula or that breast milk until at least age 1. All right, let me check in and see how we're doing. If you guys added any other questions here. Hi, Destiny. Hi, Nika. Let's see. Hello, I also want to wean my 18-month-old from breastfeeding. He screams and cries if I provide a distraction. I know. Yeah, because he knows. He's smart. He knows what you're trying to do. Let's see. What do you think about the balance bike for an 18-month-old? Okay. So, yeah, there's going to be a period. There's going to be an uncomfortable period where there's going to be crying. There's going to be screaming. He's smart. He knows that you're trying to pull him away from this, but it's just, I think creating a routine for when he's coming to you so he knows what to expect in terms of your response when he's wanting to breastfeed is what's going to be best if you're trying to wean him. So when he comes to breastfeed, it's no, we do this instead. It'll be tough at first, but I really think that kids this age will adjust. It just takes a couple of weeks or a few weeks. So figure out what it is your response is going to be or your distraction is going to be, and just be consistent with that, and give him a little bit of time to adjust, and he should be okay. Balance bike, we can chat about that a different time. I want to stick to weaning, and so see if we have anybody else on here. Oh, Denise, thank you so much. I'm glad that I was able to answer your questions. Let's see. I think this is quick. This is going to be the fastest live stream. This is my first one, you guys, so I'm like super nervous. I'm so glad I powered through these questions. If anything else is on the top of your mind in terms of feeding, throw it out there now, and let's see if I can answer any other questions. If you have other questions for me on a different topic, shoot me an email and I will try to answer those for you as soon as I can. But how are you guys doing? Whoa, almost knocked over my glass there. How are you guys doing today on this lovely Sunday? I'm so glad you guys jumped on to hang out with me. Thank you for being here. It's a lot of fun. So, any other questions? Or did I get them all? Thank you. I'm so glad you guys were on here. And again, if you guys have suggestions for videos, I have a couple of videos that are in the queue that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, but I am trying to get my 2019 videos in order. So if you guys have anything that you want me to throw out for content, drop me a comment down here, let me know, and I will see if I can get that scheduled for you guys and put up on YouTube. So what is your advice for preparing a nanny to help? So are you asking a nanny to help with feeding or to help just in general? If it's for feeding, I would say that's tough. And I don't know that I would recommend having a nanny jump into your routine right off the bat. I think it takes some time for your infant to get comfortable with the foods that you're introducing, and you yourself to get comfortable with the routine and what to expect in terms of how your baby responds to putting food in their mouth, spitting it out, all that good stuff. So I would recommend that you guys have a pretty solid foundation in terms of your feeding schedule and your routine before introducing someone else, if you have that ability to do that. And then once you have an understanding of how your child is doing and managing that food, then you can kind of work a nanny into the situation or a daycare provider. Let's see, our baby is 7 months old today and we're hiring a nanny to start in the middle of January. Okay. Yeah. So again, luckily, since food's fun until the age of 1, that's something you can mitigate, like just offering the food when you're home with your baby, and getting into a groove before your nanny is starting to offer food. So either the bottle, if you're doing breastfeeding or formula, maybe that's something that they can do primarily, and you can do the foods when you're home or before the nanny gets over. And then when you have that solid foundation and you guys both feel good about where your baby is with their oral motor skills, then you can make suggestions for your nanny, or maybe bring the nanny in to observe you guys and see how the baby does with you and what the dynamic is, because providing that example is probably going to be really helpful for somebody new coming into the situation of your baby learning to eat. So I hope that was helpful. All right, you guys, that's awesome. Cool. We're getting in and out of here in 20 minutes. I appreciate you guys all jumping on to hang out with me. Again, any suggestions, any other questions, leave them down for me and I will catch you guys and respond to you, or feel free to shoot me an email. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I love you all. You guys are awesome moms. Keep up the awesome work. And I will see you on the weekly video this coming Thursday. Let's see. Oh, I have another one. Only caught to the end. Oh, hi, Michelle. It will be on replay. So as soon as this ends, I'll have it linked up for you, and all the resources that I mentioned, I'll also put in the description box. So if you guys want that as well, it'll be there. All right, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video, okay? Thank you. Bye.